With that, we do have some awesome guest speakers with us today. We have Goran McLaughlin, who is the Director of Risk and Insurance Management at Morgan Stanley. We have Kobe Evans, who is an Associate Broker at JP West. And we have Eliza Olivieri, who's an Associate Broker at JP West as well. So with that, Eliza, I will hand it over to you to please share your screen, and perhaps tell us also a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, gladly. Thank you, Tandeka. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here and tuning in today. Be sharing my screen right now. Can everyone see?
Yes, perfect.
Great. All right, so in today's presentation, we aim to emphasize the importance of networking. And in doing so, we hope to elaborate on the impact that it can have when it's done so correctly. Today we'll be speaking about leveraging your network through the lens of insurance, but this is a presentation that anyone can take away from, regardless of what field or career path that you work within. Fostering professional relationships can change a person's career trajectory. And so it's important to note that while what you know can get you far, who you know can get you even farther. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce the rest of our speakers today.
Hi everyone, I'm Kobe Evans. I am Associate Broker at JP West. I graduated from the Long Island University Brooklyn campus. Hooray to LIU Brooklyn. I majored in political science and business management, and I'm excited to share with you my journey and get into where I'm at today.
All right, hi everyone. As I mentioned before, my name is Eliza Olivieri. I graduated from Pace University back in 21, and I've been working within the field of insurance for a little over a year now.
Hi, I'm Goran McLaughlin. I graduated from St. John's University in 2018 with a bachelor's in risk management and insurance. I also have an MBA in enterprise risk management. I served as a broker for 4.5+ years in different lines: property, casualty, construction, and then the latest before becoming a risk manager, I was in the marine practice at Aon. For the past 14 months, as Tandeka previously stated, I've been a risk manager at Morgan Stanley in the risk insurance management department, handling professional liability lines as well as some marine commodities.
All right, and by the end of this presentation, all participants should be able to discuss and know the importance of networking and how it can impact your career. Also be able to identify the good qualities of what makes a good networker, and just be able to understand the value of being able to build professional relationships within your field. Throughout this presentation, I've listed here the points that we'll be talking on. So for today, we'll be discussing what is networking, the importance of networking, building a network, expanding your network, maintaining networking relationships, the communication styles of others, a good networker, your elevator pitch, the strategies for work in a room, allyship, mentorship, career mobility, and then at the end of this presentation, we'll be having a Q&A session to answer any and all questions you may have at the end. So what is networking? For starters, the essence of networking is just the process of exchanging information, being able to ascertain and aggregate professional and social contacts. So as it mentions here, it says professional and social. So networking doesn't have to just consist solely of business or whatever field you're working in. It can consist of just networking for any type of opportunity that you may see for yourself, whether it be a recreational opportunity you're pursuing or a professional opportunity for that matter. Here you'll be able to understand the importance of networking. And so one of the main things that are important when it comes to networking is understanding who are the players within the industry. Now, this is regardless of what field you work within. It's important to know who are the people at the top, especially so if you want to be able to pursue a successful career within your industry, because more often than not, in order to achieve that success, you're going to want to do the same thing that the people that are already at the top are already doing. Not only is that important, but networking can also create job opportunities for you, whether it be a vertical movement where you get a raise in salary, or whether it be a lateral movement where salary may stay the same, but you're able to acquire a new skill that you can add to your resume. And third, networking can also help reinforce the success of the position you currently work in. You know, using myself as an example, I work as a property and casualty broker within commercial and personal lines. And it's important to be able to network and establish those relationships with other individuals within your field, you know, even if they don't work within your specific company. On a daily basis, I'm speaking to multiple carriers and speaking to underwriters. And so it's important to be able to foster a good relationship with people that I'm working within my industry outside of my company, because in turn, all that's going to do is help make my job easier and make me more successful within my job. Here we have a couple of steps that one can use to build a network. The first step would be to identify your strengths and weaknesses. And this is important because in identifying your own strengths, you know what to use to work to your advantage to help you progress within your career field. It's also just as equally important to know your weaknesses. So not only do you know what you need to work on, but also so that when you are establishing your network of connections, you can surround yourself with people that can help you overcome your weaknesses, and also just help you in terms of having that all aroundness when it comes to being able to present yourself, you know, to a company. You want to be able to have a network that can help you grow as an individual and as a professional. Next, we also have developing your own personal brand. Now, developing your personal brand is paramount to the success within any industry. And when I say personal brand, it's how you present yourself to the outside world. Now, this doesn't just stop at a business level. It continues on in everyday activities, the way you compose yourself when you interact with people. And so in turn, when you focus on developing your personal brand inside and outside of work, it helps you present yourself as a professional and trustworthy individual to the outside world and anyone you have interactions with. And lastly is just to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. Much like I mentioned at the identify step, you know, you want to surround yourself with people that are on the same page, in the sense that they're focused, they're ambitious, they have goals, and they're looking to achieve things to better themselves and project their trajectory of their career path forward. You know, you want to surround yourself with people that are looking to do better. I don't know if anyone here has ever heard the saying, you know, you are the people that you hang out the most with. And to a certain degree, that can be true. And so it's important to surround yourself with like-minded individuals that also want to pursue better, not only for themselves, but for those around them.
Expanding your network, just to kind of build on how to build your network. You want to now retain your network. So how you expand it, you attend events, whether that be in person or virtually, similar to how we're gathering now. You get to interact with people that may share similar interests as you, may have similar objectives as you, hence why they're at this event. So, you know, looking them up on social media is one of the means of getting to know a person, understanding a person, and get a snippet of who that person is before you even interact with that person at that event. So, you know, to expand, you really want to attend a lot of events and virtual events. As an associate broker, it's imperative for me to develop leads and in order for me to do so, I have to go to industry focused events and events that's outside of where clients are attending. Volunteering with organization that aligns with your core values. I can't emphasize enough how many opportunities I receive just off the mere fact that I've joined the organization that allows me to meet like-minded individuals and also do good to society. So you meet individuals that you will not otherwise meet, having you attend those volunteer opportunities. So aligning your goals and objectives with that organization while serving the greater society is another tool you can use to expand your network. I, for one, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn probably 5 15 times a day. I'm always checking LinkedIn. And a lot of times I get to know what the people that I'm following, I get to see where they are in their professional journey, what it is that they're doing, what are the type of things that they're posting, what are the type of things that they're doing that I might want to, the next time I see them at an event, I can relate to them on, or I can ask them, I can shoot them a message in the inbox and say, that's a really good article. I like it. It was a good read. Can you expound? I'd love to have coffee with you so to discuss this further. There's some synergy between you and I wanted to work with you. So these are the 3 tools. There are plenty more, but for the sake of time, we're limited to this 3. Maintaining your network relationship. So, in essence, I like to, as an insurance professional, I'm big on using insurance related terminologies. And that's, for me, is when I think about this slide, I think about retention, retaining what it is that you have go out and capture. And so I have a rule. If I meet someone at an event a night before at 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whether that be at a cocktail event or just merely networking, I make it my point of duty that the next day, before 6 p.m. the next day, I personal note, whether that be an email, hi, it was nice meeting you. I enjoy our chat and I'll look to see you at the next event, or I would love to expound on our conversation. Would you be available to speak with me, and throw out time frames in that sense? Sometimes I don't have the time to send somebody a email, so I would follow them on LinkedIn and I'll shoot them a note in the DM, as it was great meeting you at this event. And that way it shows it's 2 things is happening there. One thing, the first thing is you're showing that you are responsive to that person, because here you go, you meet this person not less than 24 hours ago, and you're following up with them on on a conversation you had with them. And 2, you're cultivating a relationship. That's the beginning stage of cultivating a relationship, whether to set you up for a long term, to have that person be within a resource to you. When I was in college, this was a tool that one of my mentors gave to me, and up to this day I still use it. And that's quarterly follow-ups. It's simple as, hi, I'm here in my journey. I just wanted you to know that I have accomplished this X, Y, and Z, and I'm looking to pivot to doing this, or I want to continue to look and explore for opportunities in this area. And what that does is it allows someone within your network to identify where you are if you're not having an active social media presence. And 2, if they come across a opportunity that aligns with you, they could then pass that opportunity off to you. So having to update them, and vice versa, if it's on a client end. I know, like right now we in hurricane season, so it's important that I send, for clients that are located in flood related zones, to send them updates on how to mediate their possible losses because of. So by sharing those information, one, I'm helping the client become manage their risk better, and 2, I'm looked at it more as a favorable person within the client's eyes because I'm staying on top of their account. And if you read the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, like myself, there's these short essays that is and I love to read them. Oftentimes I will pick quotes out of those essays and I will use it and I'll share it on and I'll pass it. So these are all things that you can use to retain your network.
All right, so here we'll be going into a couple different communication styles. And so it's important to note that when you're networking or when you're out there, meeting and interacting with new people, a lot of times people will have a different style of communication, and it's important to be able to identify that style so that you know the best way to interact with this person moving forward to get whatever it is that you're looking out of that conversation. So we'll just start off from left to right, going over passive communication. This communication style is probably the least ideal in terms of the fact that when someone is speaking passively, they're not truly expressing what it is they want or desire out of the conversation or what they're looking for. And a lot of times when someone communicates passively, they don't end up getting whatever point across that they'd like to make, and oftentimes may feel as though they're not getting what it is they need out of that conversation. Moving after that, we also have the passive aggressive communication style. And much like the passive communication style, this person doesn't directly say what it is that they want. Oftentimes, what they're looking for may be masked by sarcasm. And so this may oftentimes come across as, rude or aggressive. And so it's important to note that, especially when someone is communicating online, whether it be through text or through email, that it can be open to interpretation depending on who is on the receiving end of that email. And so it's important to avoid trying to use sarcasm or speaking indirectly, as that will only in turn cause confusion or a misunderstanding on the part of the recipient. Moving on from that, we also have the aggressive communication style. And while this communication style does a good job of expressing its wants and needs, much like I was speaking to about the passive aggressive communication style, people are open to interpretation when it comes to being on the receiving end of a typed message. And so when someone is speaking aggressively, what that can in turn do is, rather than have the person that you're reaching out to give you what you're asking for, they may get defensive or they may become hostile. And in turn, it becomes a whole other issue within itself. And then now, instead of you getting what it is you need, now the person is defending themselves, and it's a game. It can be a game of pointing fingers back and forth. And so it's usually best to avoid this communication style unless necessary. Now, I believe the best communication style would be to be assertive. When one is assertive, they're direct, they're honest, they're laying out exactly what it is they need. And at the same time, they're still respecting the feelings and ideas of others. It's about making clear what it is that you want without having to use any microaggressions or have anyone feel attacked when you are sending out this request of what you'd like. And so ideally, it's important to be assertive and be clear about what it is exactly that you want, but it's equally as important to be able to identify these communication styles so that when you are speaking to someone, you know the type of communicator that they are. Moving on, next, we also have a couple of traits that make a good networker. I'm going to start off with just knowledge of the business. Just speaking a little bit about myself, when I attended my first networking event, I had only been 2 weeks into the insurance industry. And so it would have really helped me a lot, to have a deeper knowledge of the business, because it would have allowed me to display my own knowledge. And so when it comes to developing my network, I'm showing people that I know what it is that I'm talking about. And I not only do I know, but I would be a good asset to be a part of their network as well. Moving on from that, we also have drive. It's important to have that inner drive and motivation with any endeavor that you choose to pursue in life. Because at the end of the day, if you have a vision for yourself and you want to achieve better for yourself, regardless of whatever position that you're in, you need to have that internal motivation to be able to go and do that. Because nobody's going to hold you by the hand. Sometimes people may be lucky and they have someone that can offer that guidance, but not everyone is blessed with that same opportunity. And so it's important to be able to develop that internal drive, motivation, and ambition, to go out there and get what it is that you want. Moving on from that, extroversion is also an important trait. I know not everyone is an extroverted individual, and so it may be hard for someone to come out of their shell. But when it comes to networking and being in those networking environments, it's important to put yourself out there. You want to be able to be social, to be friendly and outgoing, because in all, that's what's going to portray to the outside world. That's the perspective that you're giving them when you're outgoing and social and you're friendly. And in turn, that makes people feel more welcomed and friendly and into being a part of your network. Moving forward from that, there's also a desire to lead, which is important in a good networker. You know, not everyone is a natural born leader. And so when I say desire to lead, I'm not speaking about having to necessarily be a leader, but the desire to lead in terms of, you know, being able to start that conversation, being able to be the first one to reach out. And, you know, so similarly to having that drive, it's important to be able to have that desire to lead and be the one that gets the ball rolling, if that's what it takes to get whatever it is you're looking for within your network. Moving forward from that, it's paramount, you know, to have honesty and integrity in whichever field it is that you're working in. At the end of the day, people want someone that they can rely and trust on. And if you display those qualities, regardless of your knowledge, skills, or even experience in the field that you have, just displaying honesty and integrity can help you go a long way in pursuing different opportunities and even just being able to gain relationships, because it shows that people can trust you and that they can rely on you to do the right thing. Moving forward from that, we also have intelligence. You know, it's similarly to having knowledge of the business. It's very important to be intelligent in that aspect and know what it is that you're speaking about when you're speaking about your line of work. But not only that, it's also about having the intelligence to know when a conversation no longer serves you and when it does. You know, oftentimes you may find yourself networking and then you're speaking to someone and you say that the conversation really isn't leading anywhere in terms of, you know, opportunities or even just knowledge for that matter. And so it's always important to have that social intelligence to be able to know when is the best time for you to exit a conversation or start one for that matter. Another key trait of a good network is to have open-mindedness. You know, I know the insurance field has a myriad of different types of positions and jobs within it. And so it's important to be open-minded in exploring those options. You know, oftentimes people will go into a field, they already have the type of job that they want in mind, you know, and it's very easy for someone to get tunnel visioned and fixated on what it is that they want in that field. But sometimes being open-minded, being willing to listen to the opportunities and ideas that others have, it can open you up to a new possibility that you didn't think would have been a great fit for you. You know, and so it's important that while you may have your goals in mind, to always be open-minded to opportunity, as you may find something that while you may not have thought to have liked it, you end up liking it in the future if you do give it a try, you know. And so lastly, it's important to have self-confidence and a high self-esteem. Oftentimes, you know, body language is easy to read in someone, especially when they don't display confidence and a high self-esteem in themselves. And so it's important to be able to work on that, to be able to have the confidence and trust in yourself that you belong in the room that you're in. Because it's very easy for someone to see one's body language when they don't have that self-confidence, and that in turn can affect someone in finding a new potential job opportunity.
So we do have a question, Eliza. Can I see your hand is up? Go for it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tandeka. This is great. Really appreciate the tips and feedback. Kind of going back to the career trajectory stuff that you just highlighted, Eliza, how do you use your network to get into the short list for the next promotional opportunity?
So when it comes to using my own network, what I do is I attend these events, you know, and I try to meet people in the room. And beforehand, it's also good to also just do your research, you know, as mentioned before, to know who are the top people in the industry, to know who are the big names in that industry, because in doing so, it prepares you, you know, to head into these events. And so when you initiate conversation and you try to make contact, you can not only inquire about whatever opportunities they may have at their organization, but you also put on your traits and qualities on display for them to see as well. You know, and so that's why it's important to have these traits and qualities that were listed, because it helps that to help shape your outside perspective and how the world views you when you are out there and attending these events.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So elevator pitch is a brief, persuasive speech that's used to spark interest in what you do. And if, in other words, it's a snippet of who you are. You're giving this person a snapshot into what it is that you do, where you work. So, oftentimes I'll, when I meet someone, I'll say, "Hi, my name is Kobe Evans. I'm an associate broker at JP West." By giving your title and giving the company you work for, tells a lot about what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis. So don't never underestimate your title, never underestimate the company, because you can use that as a means to leverage your connection with a person or sparking some sort of a conversation with that person, whether that person has been in that role previously and could able to help you navigate some pitfalls within that role, or just simply giving you some things to look into in terms of the next position up. So you always want to do that. In terms of you want to include in your elevator pitch just a brief, very brief of your background. My favorite is just to say, I like to play golf on my spare time. I'm a big boxing guy. I love comeback sport, and that's what I do as my hobby. One of my biggest accomplishment was starting out in personal lines and helping clients overcome some of their losses by taking steps that I had suggested to them. So that's one of my biggest highlight for me. So just keeping it light, keeping it brief. You don't want to go into a long tail story about, when you started out working and where you are now to when you're going to your exit plan from leaving that industry or that job. Just keep it nice and sweet, straight to the point. Your goal, you think about the reason. What is the reason for you telling this person your name, your job title, and a little bit about what you do for work and a little bit about what you do for a hobby? What is that you're trying to get out that person? You trying to get that person connect with you on a level, on a personal level, or is it that you're trying to relate with that person because you felt that person has something similar in their background that will allow you to connect with them in that sense. The solution, it's going back to what I was saying prior. You want to follow up. Like, you want to follow up. The pitch is just the intro into initiating that conversation. The conversation is not going to take it further if you don't do that initial follow-up. And then, have a plan to implement. Is the quarterly updates, following and seeing where people are in their journey. That's a solution. I do see a hand raised, and I want to acknowledge it.
Yes, Karan, go for it.
Hey there. I appreciate you guys for being here. My name is Karan Sani. I'm interning currently at Bonaventure as a risk management intern, and I go to George Mason University, second year there. So in terms of like an elevator pitch, assuming every conversation is obviously different. In my month here, we've had many different conversations. What do you think of kind of like a one-liner about yourself compared to an elevator pitch? Because depending on the conversation, you might need to get something out much more quicker, rather than going into something more in depth. Just a thought. Just let me know what you guys think about that.
Yeah. No, I think that was a great question. Your network, you always think about it from, it's your personal brand. No one knows your brand more than you do. So I can quantify my personal brand in one sentence. I'm a person that's going to get people into a room and work with each other. Simple, to the point, short and sweet. Now you want to know, how do I do that? That's another story. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a conversation. Think about your personal brand. And I implore every one of you to do that. Think about what it is that how you identify yourself. Every one of us have strengths and weaknesses. Of course, you want to highlight those strengths, but you got to keep in mind you are human. you have fallacies, and you have to make sure that you show that little bit of vulnerability to someone in the sense and in that conversation, so that they know that while you're good at this, you're working on improving this other thing, this other part of you.
Fantastic advice. I also wanted to add, if you're in a situation, Karan, where you need to get something out of the way, and totally understanding that the group that's here today, majority of you are college students, right? Which means you are looking for something, right? You're looking for internship opportunities, you're looking for those entry-level full-time job opportunities. So if you're in a situation where you kind of have to like get to the point, I think it's totally okay to say that, right? Like you could introduce yourself and say something like, hi, my name is Karan. I go to this school, I'm based in this location, this is when I graduate, I just completed an internship with XYZ, I'm a hard worker, fast learner, and I'm looking for a full-time job opportunity, right? So you can wrap all of that up into a sentence or two when you're at these networking events and if you're pressed on time.
Definitely. Thanks, Tandeka and Kobe.
Yeah,
No problem.
great
Anytime.
question.
Strategy for working in a room. This is near and dear to me, because I often say the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. You can't enter a room if you don't know why you in the room. You can't enter a room if you don't know who the players are in the room. You can't enter a room if you don't identify who is in the room. So you always want to make sure that you do your due diligence. Google is my best friend. As soon as I see an itinerary, I'm on Google looking up people, what the type of roles they do, what their job description is, what it is, so I can get a sense of who are the type of individuals that I'm gonna be going after. A case in point, I'm going to an event in a couple hours from now, and the same thing that I'm telling you that I'm suggesting you do, I'm doing it in a few hours from now. I'll be doing that. So before I even got into the room, I already know who's going to be in the room. I already know the type of people who's going to be in the room and what are the type of things that I should be saying to look favorable in somebody's eyes. As much as we want to not say it, we're always selling ourselves to someone. We are walking billboards. So I want to know, how can I best position myself to have a good look in your eyes, in a favorable look in your eyes. Prepare questions. You can't prepare questions if you did not do your due diligence before entering the room. I noticed that, I don't know, can I use Tandeka? Can I use it as an example? I noticed, Tandeka, you are the director of external affairs at Spencer Foundation. I just wanted to, can you just elaborate more about it? I know about the organizations, a not-for-profit doing great things for risk management, people who are trying to go into risk management, but I'm just curious, can you just elaborate a little bit more what it is that your day-to-day looks like? That Tandeka would be willing to share her day-to-day because she's doing a lot every day. Asking open probes is what is going to sell you. You don't want to get into question and answer. This is not a Q&A. You want the conversation to be flowing. So use asking open probes, but open probes that are directed towards that person that you can then spark for further conversations. Learn about the people you're speaking to before you sell yourself. Be the solution to something that they said that they are struggling with. So asking that open probe, so tell me something about yourself or what it is that you do. Now you can connect yourself and what it is that you do, interject into them to say, hey, I'm not a liability, I'm an asset. I could be that answer to your solution that you're trying to fix or what you're trying to address. It could be simple as, I'm working on this project and I just want a soundboard. I want somebody that I could bounce ideas off. Guess what? You fit yourself into that void and being there for that person. So you don't go, I wouldn't necessarily go to Tendeka and say, hey, Tendeka, I had this big, massive project and I needed to come on board and help me do the heavy lifting. Tendeka is going to say, absolutely not. I have a lot going on myself. But if I put it away where Tendeka now understands that is a relationship and it's not one way, she's more willing to help me out, and she would with my big project, vice versa. When she has things that she wants to be for me to be a sounding board, I'll be there ready to listen to her. You know, everything we hear this phrase a lot. Why me? Why? And the more you can get to the why is the more successful you will become at work in any room. If you understand your why, your absolute essence, you'll be a network king and queen, or you'll be that person that everyone wants to be around, because they gravitate to you. And I just want to say this. I mean, we're living in a world now with AI, artificial intelligence. It seems like it's taking over, and it's going to take, there's going to be no more human connection. But I got news for you. There are still humans living now. Don't be afraid to go up to somebody and say, hi, my name is. If that person is gonna be if that person's an introvert, you opening the door to have that conversation to them makes them now feel that they're being heard and they're now wanting to talk to you. So I would say always don't be afraid to have these conversations. Never be afraid. The same reason why you're in that room is that other person that you're saying hi to, my name is, they might be there for a similar reason. So have those conversations. Introduce yourself.
So allyship. Allyship is defined as the lifelong process of building and nurturing supportive relationships with underrepresented, marginalized, or discriminated individuals or groups with the aim of advancing inclusion. In essence, it helps dismantle the systems that are in place which keep with DEI being a high focus across companies over the last few years, a lot of ERGs or employee resource groups have been created. Examples of ERGs can be a Black network, a women's network, Asian Latina network, LGBTQIA network, etc. A few examples of those within Morgan Stanley is BEN, Black Employees Network, Wi-Fi, Women's in Finance, Disability Enabled Network, and Pride and Ally Network. Now, when identifying these ERGs, you want to choose one that align closely with your values, because the main purpose is to promote a space of belonging and a sense of community. So if you join the ERG that you connect, that you align with the core values, you're connecting with individuals that you closely can relate to. These ERGs, they allow you to have conversations and discussions with people that come from where you come from, been through what you've been through, or who just look like you. And allow you to have those conversations about career goals, work environment, salary, and professional and or personal growth. I have a prime example of that. When I got my MBA back in 2020, I was speaking with one of my classmates who studied RMI at St. John's as well. She's currently an underwriter, but I just finished my MBA and we were just having a conversation, and I was telling her how I felt underpaid because I got my MBA and I don't feel like I'm being compensated for it. But I felt comfortable having that conversation with her because, again, she looked like me, and I consider her as an ally. Another resource of allyship is joining organizations such as the Spencer Foundation, RIMS, NAIA, which stands for National African American Insurance Association, and YRP, Young Risk Practitioners. So I would be honest, I didn't always have the high self-esteem or self-confidence in myself. I'm a very outgoing person once you get to know me, but I'm naturally introverted. So it was hard for me to go to these network events because I truly didn't want to be there. But once I started going to those networking events, my career started to take off. And the first and the prime example of that is back in December, I went to a RIMS holiday party that was sponsored by NIA. I had no knowledge of what NIA was at that time. And when I was waiting at the bar to get a drink, the vice president of NIA was sitting right next to me, and I did exactly what Kobe said. Hi, my name is Karan McLaughlin. He introduced himself. He started telling me about NIA, and I was immediately intrigued about NIA because he explained that the primary two focuses of NIA is to, one, build a community of Black professionals that works in insurance, which that I can relate to because on the broker side, when I was a marine broker or just a broker in general, there have been so many times that I've been to an event that where I was one of few Black people. So although I knew that I belonged, I felt as though I didn't belong because there weren't many people there like myself. And then the other aspect of NIA was just bringing awareness to the insurance, to Black students about the insurance industry and where it can go as a career and the perks of the industry. Again, I was one of those people. I had no idea about insurance other than auto insurance when I decided to study it. In fact, I got introduced to insurance because my mom, one of my mother's clients, she's a hairstylist. I was at community college at the time, and me being the only child, she loves to brag about me. So she was telling me, oh, my son, he's getting ready to go to St. John's. He really doesn't know what he wants to study, but he wants to do something math related. So her client suggested actuarial science. Now, although I didn't go to actuarial science, it's still insurance, and at St. John's, risk management insurance is the next leg below actuarial science. So that was my introduction, and that's why I really connected with NIA. Also, I recently joined the YRP board, Young Risk Practitioners, which is the younger arm of RIMS, and it's tailored to young insurance professionals 35 and under. Now, the reason that helped my career because I saw Colby at a NIA event prior to that, to meeting him at a YRP event, but we didn't speak. But at the YRP event, I got a chance to connect with him. I also met Tendeka for the first time at that same YRP event, and then I later connected with her at RIMS in Atlanta. So after meeting Colby at that YRP event, I started seeing him at other events, and we just, connected, always had conversations, and that's how I got this opportunity to speak on this webinar, just from meeting Colby multiple times and having those conversations. So it's very important that you join these organizations and get yourself out there.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that personal story. I think a lot of the students that are here will resonate with that. So thank you.
Of course. Mentorship. So mentorship is a relationship between two people, with one providing influence, guidance, or direction to another for the purpose of learning and growth. One thing I like to stress about a mentorship is that as a mentee, you're only going to, what you get out of it are the efforts that you put into it. And I'll repeat that. What you get out of it are the efforts that you put into it. When you have a mentor, it is your responsibility to take initiative and drive that relationship. Your mentor is just a volunteer who's taking time out of their busy schedule to help you learn and grow and develop professionally and or personally because they see the potential in you. So it's very important that as a mentee, you display that eagerness and willingness to learn. You take the initiative and reach out to your mentor. You set the expectations. You let them know that, okay, this week we're going to meet Wednesday via Zoom at 5 o'clock to discuss XYZ. And also it's your responsibility to set the expectations of ultimately what do you want to get out of that person being your mentorship. You have to be trustworthy. And when I mean trustworthy, you just have to provide that mentor with the trust in yourself that you're not going to waste your time. Time is the one thing in life that we cannot get back, and no one wants their time to be wasted. Be realistic about your expectations. Don't be afraid to ask questions and learn from your mistakes. We all make mistakes. Every single person on this call have made a mistake. I probably made a mistake today. I hope my manager's not on this call, but I'm sure I made a mistake today. But it's your ability to learn from that mistake, bounce back from it, and it doesn't become an error unless it goes uncorrected. On the flip side of the mentor, a mentor wants to showcase their expertise and their knowledge in a relevant field. So if you're asking for someone to be your mentor, you already have a perception of them. You already think they have a breadth of knowledge in a certain subject that you're interested in learning. And then if they're willing to be your mentor, again, that means they already see the potential in you, and they believe that you can reach that full potential by their guidance and their influence. Most people who have a breadth of knowledge are eager to share that knowledge with others, but only if they feel as though that the person that they're sharing their knowledge to wants that knowledge and is not going to waste their time. They're going to give you direct and honest feedback. So you have to be able to take constructive criticism. I think patience is one of the biggest qualities of a good mentor, because all the mentees are not going to come from the same background. You can have one mentee who parents worked in the industry, so they have X amount of knowledge, but they're just looking for mentorship to take the next level. And then you can have someone like myself, who parents didn't even work in corporate America. So I might not have that knowledge, but you have to have that patience to work with me. So, and have that patience to work with me and realize that I didn't come from the same background that everyone else. And then ultimately, a good mentor is just going to guide their mentee to be effective problem solvers. We're working in the insurance industry. There's problems every day that need solutions, and we need to be able to solve those problems accordingly. Career mobility. So career mobility, it's all about getting that promotion, advancing in a career, climbing the corporate ladder. And the thing about millennials is that they say, oh, millennials are job hoppers. Well, I like to think of that we're just the drivers of our own career. We're not going to wait for someone to recognize our value to get what we want. A prime example of that is myself. I graduated January 2018, got my first job March 2018, and Morgan Stanley is if I'm not mistaken, my fourth job within the last 5 years. I started off at a small brokerage firm on Long Island. Wasn't the biggest fan of the job simply because it was on Long Island. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I came to New York to live and work in Manhattan, not live in Queens and do a reverse commute to Long Island. So, but I understood, at least looking back at it, I understood why I needed that job, because again, I didn't come from a corporate background. So that first job, because it was a small company, allowed me to learn the ins and outs of not only corporate America, but insurance as well. So after being there for about 14 months, I decided to go back to the St. John's Career Fair. Now, although I had graduated, I technically still was a student because I was getting my MBA at that time. But I decided to go back to the St. John's Career Fair because I wanted a new job, specifically in Manhattan. So I went to the St. John's Career Fair. I introduced myself to all the brokerage firms that was there and let them know, like, hey, I'm currently a broker. I just graduated from St. John's a year ago. I've been at this company for the last 14 months, but I'm looking for a switch because I don't want to work in Long Island. I want to work in Manhattan. And then I eventually ended up getting a job at Conner Strong in Buccaloo, which was in Manhattan. At that same time, I applied for a marine position at Aon. Aon actually said, we think you're a good candidate, but we're going to go with someone that has more marine experience. So I ended up working at Conner Strong in Buccaloo for about a year. Exactly a year later, to the date of Aon telling me that, they told me that, hey, we have this new job opening for you. It's yours if you want it. I was in the midst of my MBA program, so I really didn't want to go through another interview process. And also I was kind of content with my job at that moment. But they reiterate, no, the job is yours if you want it. You don't have to interview. We already interviewed. So I started weighing the pros and cons. And although I just recently joined this company, how can you turn down a bigger company with the opportunity of working with big clients and Fortune 500 clients and getting that exposure in the industry? So I ultimately decided to go to Aon. And then when I was at Aon, I basically, I don't want to say start all over because I was only 2 years in the industry, but I had no marine experience. So although I had broker experience, I had no marine experience. So I went in as basically starting over as a entry-level position. I was an associate broker, and I was an associate broker for 2 years. I ended up getting promoted within a year and a half, and I ended up getting more money, but I still wasn't satisfied. So why would I stay at a company that I'm not satisfied with? And to be quite frank, it wasn't the company. It was just being a broker just is not a personality fit for myself. So I started looking elsewhere, and I stumbled on LinkedIn one day, stumbled across this opening as being a risk manager at Morgan Stanley. I read the qualifications and I knew from the very moment that I saw it that the job was for me. And to be quite frank, since I've been here, I haven't had a bad day. So again, that's just an example of my career mobility. 5 years, 4 different jobs. So never be afraid to think that someone's going to look at you as a job hopper. Again, you're the driver of your own career. No one's going to look out for your career better than you are.
Fantastic. So, oh, perfect timing. Last slide is questions. And I know we are coming right up on time. So if anyone needs to hop off, we totally understand. But any questions from the room before we end the session? Yes, Amanda, go for it.
Hi, thank you all for coming. My question isn't really geared towards anyone in specific, but I'm interning right now in corporate risk management, but I'm kind of pursuing actuarial science. So I don't really know exactly where I want to work after I graduate. But when I go to like conferences and people ask me, I'm never quite sure what to say my plans are. So I guess how do I communicate that I'm open to exploring different options without making it seem like I'm not thinking about what I want to do or not passionate about it?
Well,
Great
you just did it. You just did it. That's all you need. The more transparent you are with somebody and be organic and truthful, is the more you're gonna get an organic feedback. But if you're trying to feel like you got to curtail a response or curtail an answer or a particular, it's just may come off a little like you're fake. So you don't. You're doing all the right stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
And I completely agree. You know, I think especially like as someone who is a college student or a recent graduate, you know, no one is expecting you to have everything figured out. You know, it's totally okay to just say what you said, right? I'm interested in this, but I'm also interested in that. I'm exploring both career paths to see what's the best fit for me and my personality. Like, it's okay not to have everything figured out. Awesome, awesome. Any other questions before we wrap up today's session? No questions.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. This was a labor of love for us. I don't want to speak, if I should just speak for Karan and Eliza for a second. When we learned of this opportunity to give back, it was no way we could have, there was nowhere in the world we'd rather be than speaking to you right here at this hour. The hour flew by, and we hope to be in connection with you. Feel free to connect. There's a few you already connected with me on LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to for others to do so. And let's start the conversation.
Fantastic. I love that. Garan, Kobe, Eliza, thank you guys so much for being here today and for hanging out with us for an hour and sharing your knowledge. And for those of you that have joined several of these sessions, you know that we do them on a weekly basis. So next week's session is going to be Thursday, July 20th from 1 to 2 Eastern. Our presenting company is going to be Argo Group Insurance, and we're going to connect with a panel of their young professionals. So if you're not quite sure how to sign up for the session, check out our website, go to the resources tab and sign up through the Zoom link. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you again to our guest speakers, and
Thank you.
let's connect. Let's keep in touch.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.